Hi, my name is Fletcher Thorne-Thomsen. I'm here today with a gentleman named Chu Okoli, who's a well-known Houston artist and instructor. He's going to show us today how to make a watercolor portrait. And what we did is we started with a photograph, as you can see here, and he did a very quick drawing of the subject. And now he's going to show us how he makes a watercolor. Now I want to show you one piece that I did prior to working with Chu, and as you can see, it's rather crude, and it has some charm, but it's not really what we wanted. And the purpose, I mean, it's almost like an oil painting made with watercolors. And Chu's going to show us how to use the qualities of a watercolor to create a watercolor portrait. And Chu, this is Chu Okoli.
Hello there.
Alrighty, and Chu's going to show us. We're using a nice palette of paint, as you can see, starting with some fairly light colors in the upper left-hand corner down to a carbon black. He doesn't use much carbon black, as you'll see here. Doesn't use much of sepia or the other colors, but he does use a lot of the purples and the blues, and of course the flesh tone that we see here. Now he's very quickly putting together a palette of the paints that he likes to use the most. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chu and let him do the talking now. Thank you.
Okay, I start out with the flesh tone, and I want to get in the midtones first. The midtones will establish the whole base of the portrait, and then from there we can do the shadows and the highlights. But remember, the highlights has to come from the background, because the paper itself, the essence of doing watercolor is to use the paper as part of the color. So the light colors in the watercolor will be from the color of the original paper. If you had noticed in the one he had before, why it wasn't so effective was because he painted over the light areas. So we didn't have much highlights. So I'm gonna try to do it in a way that we use the color of the paper as highlight, and that's what watercolor is all about. So it remains fresh and spontaneous. So I just go for the areas that are already kind of like mid-tones, and I'm gonna leave the areas that are very highlighted. I'm not gonna go over them. So I go first, lay the first coat of paint, flesh tone, and in that flesh tone I don't go with the flesh tint that we have here. I mix it a little bit with purple or light blue, because if you look around you're going to see other colors. It's not just raw colors of the palette has to be mixed. Okay, so I go here, add this here.
Now we're going to take a little break here and let Chu do a little of this kind of work. You don't need to see this, and we'll come back. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to add the colors on the hair. If you look, you will see the hair is really dark, so the mid-tones in the hair will actually be darker than the flesh tones. So even though it looks darker than the skin, it's still mid-tone. We're gonna come back to the hair and make it a little darker. But we're using the same palette, the same color scheme, so that we can have harmony. It's very, very important in everything that you do in painting, that all the colors have relationship that you can identify. So here the relationship is the purple. It's in the face as well as in the hair. And then I go do the same thing on the neck. So we have all this in place, and then I go quickly to the eyes and add a little bit of color there. I go back and try to save a highlight, spotlight on the eye, and then complete the skin tone here. Okay, we can stop.
Okay, we're on.
Okay, now I'm going in to start adding the details. So we can have the smile line, the shadows under the lips, on the side of the face, and then we kind of blend it together. The thing with watercolor is that it has to be fresh, it has to be spontaneous. You have to keep working, don't let it dry. And that's the beauty of watercolor. So we do that, we go over to the forehead, add a little near the hairline, and then the eyebrow over here. And watch how I put the color in swatches. like dabs. I don't try to blend initially, and then I come back and then do the softening, not really blending, because the beauty of watercolor sometimes is to let the spontaneity show of how the blotches are made. You don't have to blend and blend and blend. Okay, if you notice, I added more dark colors to create the contrast and show a little detail. I'm not going into the eye to emphasize the detail. So the eyes are bluish if you look closely. So I have a little bit of cerulean blue and the purple and the flesh tone. So when I mix all of them together, I'm going to use the color in the eye here. The cerulean I want to emphasize because her eyes are blue, but we're not going to make it really blue. We have to mix it with other colors. So that's what I'm doing here. I add this and save the highlight, the spotlight, and then do quickly the eyebrow hair here, and then the other side. If you have too much, you can always lift up the paint by coming back with a dry brush, and then you can control it. Okay, I kind of built up more of the shadows around the eyes and under the nose and in the hair. If you notice, we have more shadows in the hair. Now I'm trying to do the gum. You want to define the teeth by using the gum, by coloring in the gum. Don't try to divide the teeth like your brain will tell you. It will look rigid. So you kind of use the colors of the gum to define the teeth. That way the teeth remains white and vibrant and enhances the smile. And then the eyes, we can go back into the eye and add some shadows in there to create the iris. As you can see, I already added some more shadows around the corners of the mouth, so it's not so hard, and then that will enhance the mouth and the smile. And then again, I'm going to add a little more shadow under the chin, and then do the eyelashes or the eyebrows, do the eyebrows in detail. So watch how we go and do that. It's one of the last finishing touches we're going to do. So I use the tip of the brush to kind of draw in strokes to enhance and give more detail to the eyebrows. And then on this side, so I use the brush like a pencil. Pick just very small paint and make sure the tip is sharp, and then draw it in. Okay, I'm about to round this up. I added a little more shadow under the chin, and then did some of the details in the eye and around the eyes. One thing is that you always have to lay in the colors first before you try to do the minute small details. You do the big things first, which is layout, the tonal value, the composition. You consider all those things before you come to do the details. So, and if you look at the color palette, I use purple. Most people don't know that purple, or don't really want to use purple because they think it's too strong, but purple goes with every color. So when I use the flesh tone, I use the purple to create a darker variation of the flesh tone with brown. Purple can go with anything. So it makes it easy for me to try to do watercolor, especially with purple. Right now, I'm gonna wait for it to dry a little bit, and then I'll put 1 or 2 strokes, and that will be it. Okay, this is a completed portrait of this image here. So we did it in a way that is easy. You don't have to worry about bringing in too much details, because the beauty of watercolor is the freshness. It doesn't have to be super realistic where you pick out every eyelash. You can do it with blotches and impressionism, and that way it brings out the quality of watercolor. Again, if you look here, we use the background of the paper as part of the color, in addition to using a very few minimal colors. So overall, it's a good exercise. We can still go back and do a little more, but I think this stands very well as a completed portrait.
Okay.